A very good morning to one and all present over here. Myself L. Anbarasu, Associate Professor, belongs to Triple E Department, Erodu Sengundar Engineering College. So in this video section, we got to discuss about the synchronous generator. So generator, it is nothing but it is an electrical machine which converts mechanical power into an electrical power. So that's why it is called as an generator. Why it is called as an synchronous generator? The mechanical power is applied across the synchronous generator is constant speed. So synchronous, it means that it is a constant. So constant mechanical power is applied to the input of the synchronous generator. So in this class, especially for the GATE coaching class for the SC/ST students, here this class we have to discuss about this constructional details of synchronous generator, various types of rotor design of synchronous generator, then EMF equation of synchronous generator, then synchronous reactance, armature reaction, voltage regulation methods, EMF, MMF, ZPF method. So these topics are going to discuss in this class. So first AC machines, it can be classified in two types, synchronous machine, asynchronous machine. So synchronous machine, it can be classified in two types, synchronous generator, synchronous motor. Similarly, asynchronous machine, it is also named as induction machine. It can be classified in two types, induction generator, induction motor. So synchronous generator, it is the primary source of electrical energy here. In case of synchronous motor, it is used as a motor as well as power factor compensator or synchronous condenser in the transmission line. Induction generator, due to lack of the separate field excitation, these induction generators are rarely used as generators. So induction motor, it is the most widely used electrical motors in both domestic and industrial applications. So these are the overall introduction about the AC machines. And today we discussed about the only synchronous generator. So synchronous generator, already we discussed about the definition of synchronous generator. It is an electrical machine which converts mechanical power into an electrical power. It works on the principle of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction principle. Types of synchronous machine, both synchronous generator and synchronous motor, occur into the arrangement of the field and armature winding. Here the synchronous machine which consists of two windings, field winding and armature winding or stator winding. So based on this arrangement of the field and armature winding, synchronous machines may be classified as stationary armature and rotating field system. Stationary armature winding, rotating field winding system. So it is only applicable for above 5 kVA synchronous generator. Second type, stationary field system, rotating armature system. So it is only applicable for below 5 kVA synchronous generator. So based on the rating of the synchronous generator, it can be two types, stationary armature, rotating armature. So if we increase in the rating of the capacity means we cannot collect the heavy current or heavy voltage from the rotating part. So that's why we can modify the designing of the synchronous machine. So there are two designs are there: stationary armature system, rotating armature system. Here the advantages of stationary armature and rotating field system. Very first point, it is better insulation, because the high voltage AC winding and its insulation not subject to the centrifugal force. So that's why better insulation in the advantages of stationary armature and rotating field system. So mostly 11 kV to 33 kV can be taken from that stationary armature winding. So second advantages of stationary armature and rotating field system, it is easier to collect large currents from the stationary part. That is a stationary armature winding. We have to easily collect the large currents from that stationary part. It is very easy compared to rotating part. Because rotating part we have to need for the commutator brushes something arrangements are there, but only small amount of voltage and current only taken or given to the rotating part only. In stationary part, we have to collect the large currents from the stationary members. It is very easier. That is the advantages of stationary armature and rotating field system. So third one, the rotating field makes overall construction is simple. In case of rotating part, the construction part is very simple part. That is a field winding in the rotating part is very simple. So fourth one, the problem of sparking at the slip ring can be avoided. So only low voltage can be applied across the rotating part. So due to low voltage and current, the problem of sparking is avoided, can be avoided. So fifth one, ventilation arrangement for high voltage can be improved. In case of stationary part, ventilation arrangement for the stationary part is very easy. Arrangement is very simple. So sixth one, for the low voltage, for example, 110 voltage to 220 voltage, the DC excitation it can be supplied through the slip rings and brushes to the rotor field windings. It is easier to apply the low voltage 110 voltage to 220 voltage to the rotating part of the field winding. So seventh one, it is the noiseless running is possible. So air gap length is uniform. These are the overall advantages of stationary armature and rotating field systems. So finally, the mechanical balancing is better, better in the rotor part. So next we discussed about the construction of alternator. So synchronous generator it is also named as alternator because alternating supply it is an electrical machine which converts the mechanical power into electrical power. The electrical power may be an alternating supply. So that's why it is also named as alternator. So alternator we discussed about the only stationary armature and rotating field system. Here the alternator which has three-phase winding on the stator part, stationary part, and the field winding, DC field winding on the rotating part, that is rotor. In case of stator, three-phase windings are there. In rotor, field windings are there. So first stator, here the diagram is available. So this part is stator part. So number of slots are provided there. So armature windings are placed inside of the slots. Here the rotating part. Here the rotating part of the synchronous generator or alternator. Here, why it is called as a stator means it is the stationary part of the machine. It is built up of silicon steel lamination core that is named as stampings with the slats provision is there. It is used to hold the armature conductors. So silicon steel lamination. Why silicon steel lamination is? It is used to reduce the eddy current losses and hysteresis losses. So silicon content it is used to reduce the hysteresis losses. Laminations stampings are used for the purpose of reducing the eddy current losses. So it may be applicable only for the higher rating machines. Mostly alternator, the armature winding is connected in star connections because we have to need for the neutral terminals RYB, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, or U1, U2, V1, V2, W1, W2. So any starting terminals or ending terminals combined together, we can form the neutral terminals. So this is the only the stator part only diagram which indicates here the stator core, laminated iron core with slots are available. It is a steel housing. So inside of the steel housing, we can include the stator core. Stator windings are there. You can zoom the stator part. The coils are placed inside of the slots. Okay, this is the coils, coil sides iron cores. This is the laminated constructions, laminated stampings. The coil end windings are bent to form the armature winding. Here the only one set of coils are displaced here. Here the one slot occupies two coil sides. That's why it is called as a double layer winding. Here the one slot. Here this is the one of the slot. One slot which occupies one coil side and another coil side also. It is called as a double layer winding. Next, rotor part. So there are two types of rotors we have to design it. One is a salient pole type. It is also named as projected pole type. Non-salient pole type. It is also named as non-projected pole types or smooth cylindrical type. Why we have to design the two types of rotor means based on their turbine speed. So some of the part we only available for low speed. So low speed turbine is available means we can design for the silent pole construction. High speed turbine is available means we can design for the non-silent pole construction type. So first we discussed about the silent pole type, projected pole type, rotor construction. Here the diagram which indicates the silent pole type rotor construction. Here the poles are projected outside of the core. Coils are wounded to over the iron core. It is connected in series. To produce an alternate north and south pole. We have to give the DC supply to the field enemies. It will produce alternate north and south pole. So mostly feature of the silent pole type construction, it has larger diameter and shorter axial length. It has larger diameter but short axial length. So then only we have to apply the only low speed. It is only applicable for only low speed. Here it is also called as projected poles. Here the poles are mounted on the larger circular frame. It is also made up of thick silicon steel lamination for the purpose of eddy current losses and to reduce eddy current losses and hysteresis losses. Here the field winding which are connected in series, but wounding coil wounding is alternately clockwise and clockwise wounding. Then only to produce an alternate north and south pole. The ends of the field windings are connected to the DC supply through slip rings only. So main features of the silent pole type alternator or rotor construction: larger diameter and short axial length. Here the poles are laminated to reduce eddy current losses. Already we discussed these points. See, this type of construction only employed for the low and medium speed. So low and medium speed type of alternator. The turbine speed is 120 rpm to 500 rpm. So mostly it is suitable for the diesel or hydraulic turbines. The prime mover of the synchronous generator, this type of construction of synchronous generator, diesel and hydraulic turbines. So this type of construction cannot be used for the larger speed due to the weaker mechanical strength. Here the one of the very important topic is damper winding. This type of concerns we have to need for the damper winding. So why means the damper winding is used to reduce the hunting effect. That is we have to arrest the oscillation. Here the rotor construction, there is an unequal air gap is available and also mechanically weak construction. So we have to arrest the hunting effect or oscillation of rotor means to provide the damper winding. So damper winding it is nothing but copper bars, copper bars of the winding. It is short circuit with the end rings. It is mounted on the pole faces, each pole face. This is a front view of the silent pole alternator construction, armature winding and rotor windings with field winding. Rotor with field windings. Here the three-phase supply is taken outside of the supply. Here the DC supply is given to the field winding through slip rings and brushes. This is the rotor pole only in the iron part. The next type of construction, non-salient pole type of rotor. So it is in the shape of cylindrical shape. Smooth cylindrical rotor. It is also named as turbo alternator. The field windings used in the high-speed alternators driven by steam turbine. See, mostly this type of construction is employed for the steam turbine. So main features of non-cylindrical type rotor: smaller diameter and larger axial length. It is opposite to cylindrical construction, but same rating also. Here the number of slots are provided outside of the iron core. Here the diagram which indicates only two poles, north and the south poles. In this type of construction, it produces only less windage losses. The maximum speed is 3000 rpm, minimum speed is 1200 rpm, and also better balancing compared to silent pole construction. It provides better balancing. Noiseless operation also there. Flux distribution nearly sine waveform because equal aircraft length is aircraft aircraft is formed in that stator and rotor part. We got to distribute flux distribution is nearly sine waveform. So we know that the frequency of the supply is 50 Hz. Ns equal to 120 F divided by P. That is the synchronous speed of the alternator. 120 F divided by P. F equal to supply frequency. P equal to number of poles. Ns equal to synchronous speed in RPM. So this is the three-dimensional view of non-silent pole type rotor construction. Without winding, non-silent pole type, iron core only, iron core and the soft is available here. So next we discussed about the EMF equation of an alternator. Before going for the derivation, we have to define for the some parameters. Because Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, we have to need for the field winding and the armature winding. Any one of the winding may be unrotatable. Here the let to consider for the flux, the field winding which produces and flux. That's why we have to define for the flux per pole. The unit of the flux equal to Weber. So number of poles. So how many number of poles are there in the synchronous generator? So that is the one of the constant part. P equal to number of poles. So Ns equal to synchronous speed in RPM. Z equal to total number of armature conductors or coil size connected in series per phase. Z equal to total number of armature conductors. Here this is the Manday circuit. This is the electrical circuits. So Z total number of armature conductor. It is also equivalent to 2T, where T equal to total number of coils or turns per phase. Number of turns per phase is equal to 2 times of, because one turn consists of 2 coil sets. So then only we have to use for the one turn which consists of 2 conductors. So totally is equal to 2T. So T phase, it is a turns in series per phase. So number of slots multiplied by number of conductors per slot divided by 2 into 3. So number of turns per phase With the help of this formula, we can determine the turns per phase. Number of conductors per phase, Z phase. Z phase equal to Z by 3. Total number of conductors by 3, because number of phases equal to 3 only. R Y B. In case all the type of alternator windings we have used for the distributed winding, so some constant parameters are can be utilized, Kc or Kp, that is a pitch factor or Coulson factor. Another factor, constant factor, Kd, that is a distribution factor. The combination of Kp and Kd, it is also named as winding factor. Kw equal to Kp into Kd. So it is only including of distributed winding. So Kp equal to cos alpha by 2, Kd equal to sin m beta by 2 divided by m sin beta by 2. So these are the parameters we have to define before going for the derivation of the EMF equation of alternator. Consider only one cycle, positive half cycle and negative half cycle. Here the x-axis we have to define about, we can represent the only time duration. Y-axis, it is an induced EMF. The maximum induced EMF is available at the omega t equal to 90 degree. So minimum voltage is available at 0 degree, 180 degree and 360 degree only. We can consider only once complete cycles only. And also we can consider only for single conductor placed in a slot. We can consider only single conductor placed in a slot for simplification purpose. First we can determine the average induced EMF in a single conductor, that is E average equal to flux cut in one revolution divided by time taken for one revolution. So average induced EMF in a conductor, that is E average equal to flux cut in one revolution divided by time taken for one revolution. That is a flux cut in one revolution equal to d phi, time taken for one revolution equal to dt. That is total flux cut in one revolution, d phi equal to flux pi into p. We have to use only p number of poles. This p number of poles which produce only flux in Webers. We can multiply the flux pi into p. We can get the total flux cut in one revolution. So time taken for one revolution dt equal to 60 divided by ns. So 1 minute 60 seconds are available. 60 divided by ns. So total number of speed equal to synchronous speed ns. 60 divided by ns equal to dt. Change in time duration. So substitute d phi and dt value in the average induced EMF per conductor. We can substitute d phi instead of pi into p, dt instead of 60 by ns. We can get the flux pi p ns divided by 60 voltage. So already we know that ns equal to 120 f divided by p. Above the equation, the ns is the mechanical parameter. We can remove the ns into electrical parameters. So we can substitute ns in terms of 120 f divided by p. So substitute ns in terms of flux pi into 120 f divided by p, 60 into p. Okay, we can get the 2f flux pi voltage. So this is the average induced EMF per conductor equal to 2 pi flux pi voltage. But in case of only we can consider only single conductor, but we have to use for the Z number of conductors per phase. So average induced EMF per phase, that is equal to 2f flux pi. We can multiply the Z number of conductors. Z number of conductors in series. So already we know that Z equal to 2 times of T. We can substitute Z in terms of 2T. We can get the average induced EMF per phase equal to 2f flux pi. We can substitute 2T voltage. So finally 4f flux pi T voltage. Now this is the average induced EMF per phase. But we can consider only the sinusoidal waveform, positive half cycle and negative half cycle. But we can get only the average value. So we have to convert the average value into RMS value. We can utilize for the form factor formula. Okay, form factor it is equal to RMS value divided by average value. So in terms of form factor, we can multiply 1.11 into average value. So RMS value of induced EMF in a conductor, that is equal to form factor multiplied by average value. So 1.11 into average value. So RMS value of induced EMF per phase equal to 1.11 multiplied by 4F flux by T voltage. So we can get the RMS value of induced EMF per phase equal to 4.44 frequency of flux by T voltage. But above the equation is true only for the if we can use only the concentrated winding in one slot, but we have to use for the distributed winding for the each pole. So we can consider we have to consider the Kp and Kd value. So actual induced EMF per phase equal to 4.44 frequency of flux by T into Kp into Kd. Only we can multiply the Kp and Kd value in the equations. So we can convert the phase voltage into line voltage root 3 times of phase voltage. So star connected line voltage equal to root 3 times of phase voltage. So this is the EMF equation of an alternator. Here the armature winding may be in two types of connections are there. Most of the alternator can be used for the star connected winding. Some of the alternator we can use it for the delta connections. Whether the 6 terminals are available means we can connect the either star connections or delta connections. So armature winding classification mainly single layer and double layer winding, full pitch winding and short pitch winding, concentrated winding and distributed winding. The single layer and double layer winding means one slot occupies only one coil side means it is called as single layer winding. In that diagram, one slot only occupy one coil size only. That is one coil side per slot. So this type of arrangement is only applicable for small type of AC machines. So double layer winding, one slot occupy two coil sides. This type of double layer winding is more common used for about 5 kilowatt machines. In this diagram, one slot which occupies two coil sides. Top layer occupies top layer, bottom layers are available. Two coil sides per slot. The advantages of double layer winding over the single layer winding. Mostly it is easier to manufacture and the lower cost of the coils. Fractional slot windings can be used. Chartered winding is possible. Lower leakage reactance. Better performance of the machine. Better EMF waveform in case of generators. These are the advantages of double layer winding over single layer winding. So double layer winding only applicable for the higher rating machines. Here the some basic concept about the pole pitch. Pole pitch it is a distance between center of the two alternate poles. It is a distance between center of the pole faces of two adjacent poles. It is called as pole pitch. It is also named as coil span. For full pitch winding, pole pitch equal to coil span. For short pitch winding, pole pitch coil span is less than the pole pitch. So pole pitch angle is 180-degree phase angle. Here the coil it consists of two coil sides placed in two separate slots. Slot pitch means it is the phase angle between two adjacent slots. Here the full pitch winding. If the coil span it is equal to pole pitch. So previously I explained coil span it is equal to pole pitch means it is called as pole pitch winding. So in this diagram, pole pitch above the diagram, pole pitch it is equal to coil pitch, that is called as an pole pitch winding. Short pitch winding, if the coil span is less than the pole pitch, is called short pitch winding. There is a difference between full pitch winding and short pitch winding. Next, advantages of short chorded winding or short pitch winding over full pitch winding. So the first advantage is copper is saved because one slot is left before that we can complete the winding. So copper coil is saved. Second point, the mechanical strength of the coil is increased and also induced EMF is improved one. So these are the advantages of short pitch winding over full pitch winding. Saving a coil, better mechanical strength, improved induced EMF. So slot angle, it is the angular displacement between two adjacent pole in electrical degree. That is slot angle beta equal to 180 degree divided by number of slot per pole. It is a difference between slot angle beta 180 degree divided by number of slot per pole. Pitch factor it is defined as the EMF induced in the short pitch winding to EMF induced in the full pitch winding. Okay, pitch factor we can define EMF induced in the short pitch winding to EMF induced in the full pitch winding, or vector sum of induced EMF per coil to arithmetic sum of induced EMF per coil. From that phasor diagram, we can derive the formula for pitch factor. So vector sum of EMF that is equal to AB. AB we have to write AC plus CB. AB AC vector plus CB vector. So KP equal to AC plus CB divided by AD plus DP. Vector sum of induced EMF per coil divided by arithmetic sum of induced EMF per coil. So we can write the AC plus CB divided by AD plus DP. You can substitute AC, CB, AD, DP value. AD cos alpha by 2 plus DP cos alpha by 2 divided by AD plus DP. So in this phasor diagram, AD equal to DP or BD. We can substitute AD in terms of DP or AD. We can cancel the 2AD, 2AD from that numerator and denominator part. We can get the formula for pitch factor. Kp equal to cos alpha by 2. The next distribution factor or breadth factor. The distribution factor Kd equal to EMF induced in the distributed winding to EMF induced in the concentrated winding, or vector sum of induced EMF per coil to arithmetic sum of induced EMF per coil. If the coil induced EMF produced in the coil 1, induced EMF in coil 2, coil 3, we can note down the beta value, slot angle. So from that phasor diagram, we can conclude the distribution factor formula. The distribution factor vector sum of induced EMF per coil to arithmetic sum of induced EMF per coil. So arithmetic sum of induced EMF per coil that is equal to AB, BC, CD. AB plus BC plus CD. From that vector diagram, AB equal to AX plus XB, that is R sin beta by 2 plus R sin beta by 2. So AB equal to 2R sin beta by 2. Here the AB equal to BC equal to CD equal to 2R sin beta by 2. So arithmetic sum of EMF equal to 3 times of 2 or sine beta by 2. If there are m slots for distribution, we can multiply m also. Arithmetic sum for phase of the EMF equal to m x 2 or sine beta by 2, where m equal to 3. So next vector sum of induced EMF AD equal to AE plus ED. There is a vector sum of induced EMF. We can substitute AE equal to ED equal to R sine m beta by 2. So finally, vector sum of induced EMF equal to 2 R sine m beta by 2. We can substitute the arithmetic sum and the vector sum in this formula. KD equal to 2 R sine beta m beta by 2 divided by m 2 R sine beta by 2. So finally, we can get the distribution factor formula. KD equal to sine m beta by 2 divided by m sine beta by 2. Next, one of the 2 mark questions. What are the causes of voltage drop in alternator? There are 3 reasons are here. 3 causes are there. Armature effective resistance. Due to the armature effective resistance, some voltage drop is in alternator. And also leakage reactance. Armature leakage reactance also some voltage drop is there. Due to the armature reactance also voltage drop is there. So armature leakage reactance, the major component of slot leakage reactance and end-winding leakage reactance and two-tip leakage reactance. So synchronous reactance per phase, it is defined as the combination of the addition of leakage reactance plus armature reactance, where XA equal to fixed TS armature reaction reactance. Synchronous impedance per phase equal to ZS equal to square root of REA square plus XS whole square. So next one, armature reaction. The effect of main flux on the armature flux, that is called as an armature reaction. The effect of armature flux on the main field flux. It is named as armature reaction. It is a definition of armature reaction. The effect of armature flux on the main field flux, because we have to use for the two windings, field winding and the armature winding in the synchronous generator. This armature reaction effect, which depends upon the power factor of the load. For example, unity power factor, it produces a cross magnetizing effect. Lacking power factor load, it produces a demagnetizing effect. Leading power factor load, it produces a magnetizing effect. So unity power factor load means resistive load. Lacking power factor load means inductive load. Leading power factor load means capacitive load. So these are the effect of armature reaction in different types of load. Resistive load, it produces a cross magnetizing effect. Inductive load, it produces a demagnetizing effect. Capacitive load, it produces magnetizing effect. So first we discussed about the pure resistive load. We can consider only pure resistive load means north and south pole to produce a main field flux pi. Armature flux, it produces a cross magnetizing effect. So why this waveform is available? Based on the phasor diagram. So reference phasor, we can take the field flux or main flux. So due to the field flux, we can generate the induced EMF. Due to the induced EMF, the armature current is flowed through the armature winding. Due to the armature current, it produces an armature flux. Here the armature flux and field flux, it is 90 degree lacking with respect to field flux. So that's why it is the nature of the cross magnetizing effect in pure resistive load. So next we can consider purely inductive load. It will be a demagnetizing effect. Here the north and south pole, it produces an positive half cycle, negative half cycle main field flux. But armature flux, it will opposes to main flux. How it is possible means we can represent the phasor diagram. We can take the field flux in x-axis. It will produce an induced EMF, it is 90 degree lacking with respect to field flux. Due to the induced EMF, to produce a and there will be a current flow through the armature winding. It is lacking with respect to voltage due to the inductive coil. Due to the armature current to the coil, to produce an armature flux. Here the armature flux totally opposite to the main field flux. That's why it is called as a demagnetization effect in inductive coil. Where the main flux decreases, DC excitation. Next, we can consider for the capacity load. So it will produce magnetizing effect. Here the reference phasor field main flux induce EMF lacking 90 degree with respect to main flux. Due to the capacity nature, current is leading with respect to voltage. Here the IA in phase with respect to field flux. It produces an armature flux also. So both are in phase to each other. Armature flux and field flux are in phase with each other. So it produces a magnetizing effect in capacity load. So these are the armature reaction effects at different power factor loads. The next one is voltage regulation of alternator. Here the definition of voltage regulation of an alternator, it is defined as the change in terminal voltage from no load to full load, which is divided by full load voltage. So percentage of voltage regulation of alternator, it is equal to E naught minus V divided by V into 100. So there are different methods available to determine the voltage regulation of alternator. First one is a direct loading method. It is used to directly we can determine the voltage relation of alternator. It is only applicable for small type of alternator. So next one is synchronous impedance method or EMF method. Ambient tense method or MMF method. Zero power factor method or Partier triangle method. ASA method or modified MMF method. So last one is two reaction theory. It is only applicable for silent pole alternator. So first we discussed about the direct loading method. Here the circuit diagram which consists of star connected armature winding. Here the star connected armature winding RYB. It is a neutral point. Here the voltage voltmeter is connected across the any two terminals of the two phase winding. Here the ammeter is connected in series with the armature winding, any one of the phase of the armature winding. DPS is used initially it is kept at open position. Here the field winding. Here the DPS is used. DC supply is ready to give it to the field winding. We have to measure the current through the field winding. Ammeter is utilized. Variable resistor is used to vary the field current also. It is a circuit arrangement of direct loading method. Here the prime mover, mechanical coupling and prime mover. Here the field flux it is directly proportional to induced EMF from the EMF equation. So once we can determine the induced EMF, we can determine the voltage relation of alternator by that is the direct loading by the E phase minus V phase divided by V phase into 100. For high capacity of alternator, the full load cannot be simulated or directly connected to the alternator. So this method is only applicable for the small capacity alternator. Here the synchronous impedance method. Next method, synchronous impedance method or EMF method. So circuit arrangement is similar, but only slightly different. There is no load is connected across the DPS switch. So only SAS circuit ammeter is connected across this DPS switch. So other circuit diagram is similar to the previous one. In this case, we get known about the armature resistance per phase. Then we can conduct the open circuit test. With the help of open circuit test, we can draw the open circuit characteristics curve. Then short circuit test, we can conduct the short circuit test, we can draw the short circuit characteristic curve. So from that open circuit characteristic curve and the short circuit curve, we can determine the synchronous impedance value. So with the help of RA, armature resistance value, and the synchronous reactance value, we can determine the no load induced EMF E phase. Here the characteristic curve. Here the x-axis field current is taken. Y-axis no load induced EMF per phase. This is the open circuit characteristic curve. We can conduct the open circuit test. We can draw the open circuit characteristic curve. Then y-axis it is the armature current, short circuit armature current. So from that short circuit test, we can draw the short circuit characteristic curve. This characteristic curve it is used to determine the ZS value. The full load armature current at short circuit condition, we can determine the synchronous impedance. Z is equal to open circuit voltage per phase divided by armature current at short circuit conditions. So we can determine the phase EMF on open circuit, phase current on short circuit. So synchronous impedance can be calculated by means of the characteristic curve. So that is the formula available. Z S equal to square root of RA square plus X square. By knowing RA and ZS, we can determine the XS value. Once XS is determined, we can utilize the formula E phase equal to square root of V phase cos phi plus IARA whole square plus V phase sin phi plus or minus IAXS whole square. So from that formula, we can get the E phase value for lacking perpetual load and leading perpetual load. So finally, we can determine the voltage relation of alternator by EMF method. E phase minus V phase divided by V phase into conductor. Here the induced EMF, how this formula is available is by means of phasor diagram of the different types of load. First, we can consider for the unity perpetual load. Here the V phase it is taken as reference. Current it is in phase with each other. Here the IARA drop it is in phase to the V phase. IAXS it is exactly right angle to IARA drop. The combination of resistance drop and reactance drop, we can get the impedance drop. Finally, we can get the no load induced EMF E phase. It is only applicable for the unity perpetual load. So from that form phasor diagram, we can determine the E phase value. Where the YA equal to B phase, AB equal to IARA, BC equal to IAXS, AC equal to IAZS, OC equal to E phase. Consider triangle OBC. Triangle OBC, OC square equal to OB square plus BC square. OC square equal to OB square plus BC square. Here the OC equal to E phase square equal to OA plus AB plus OA plus AB whole square plus ABC square. So E phase square equal to V phase plus IARA whole square plus IAXS whole square. So finally, we can get the no load induced EMF formula at the unity perpetual load square root of V phase IARA whole square plus IAXS whole square. So next type of load, lacking perpetual load. We can take the IA is reference. IARA drop also. It is drawn from the dotted line. At right angles, IAXS drop is drawn. Finally, impedance drop also drawn. We can join the no load induced EMF. We can note on the point name OA, B, C, D angle also. So finally, we can get the V phase equal to the square root of V phase cos phi plus IARA whole square plus V phase sin phi plus IAXS whole square. So from that phasor diagram, we can get the lacking perpetual load formulas. Here the advantages of synchronous impedance method. So main advantages of this method is the value of synchronous impedance ZS for any load conditions can be calculated. At any load conditions, we can determine the synchronous impedance value. The regulation of alternator at any load conditions and load factor can be also determined. the regulation of the alternator at any load conditions and load factor also determined. So, but the actual load need not to be connected to the alternator. These methods can be used for very high capacity alternator only. This method can be used for very high capacity alternators only. Then limitation for EMF method. The main limitation for this method is it gives the large value of synchronous reactance. It gives the large values of synchronous reactance. So this load high values of the percentage of voltage relation than the actual result. High values of the percentage relation than the actual results. Hence, this method is also called as a pessimistic method because the actual result, original result is higher than the actual result. So that's why it is called as a pessimistic method. The next one is MMF method or Ampere-Turns method. So this method of determining the relation of alternator, it is also called Ampere-Turns method or Ruther's MMF method. It is based on the result of open circuit test and short circuit test on the alternator also. For any synchronous generator, it requires MMF, which is product of field current and field winding for two separate purpose. Turns of field winding for two separate purpose. So first one is it must have an MMF necessary to induce rated voltage on open circuit. It must have an MMF necessary to induce the rated terminal voltage on open circuit voltage. It must have an MMF equal and opposite to that of armature reaction MMF. So similar to the EMF method, we have to conduct the open circuit test and short circuit test. Field current, we can determine the field current value. IF1, it is required to produce the rated voltage. IF2, it is required to produce an armature current, rated armature current. So for this total field current, we can get the induced EMF. No load induced EMF is founded from that OCC and the relation is calculated. Here the open circuit characteristics and the short circuit characteristics of MMF method. This is the field current 1, IF1, IF2. With the help of IF1 and IF2, we can get the total field current. With the help of total field current, we can determine the no load induced EMF. Once no load induced EMF is determined, we can utilize for the percentage of voltage regulation formula. We can determine the percentage of voltage regulation. The next one method is zero power factor method or ZPF method or Parter method. So it is also called as a Parter method. In this operation of any alternator, the voltage drop occurs in armature resistance drop, armature leakage reactance drop. So two drops are there. We can consider for the two drop also. So previously we cannot consider for the armature resistance drop and armature leakage reactance drop, but in this case we can consider for also. So armature reaction, it is basically MMF quantity. In the synchronous impedance method, all quantities are treated as EMF only. In MMF method, all the quantities are treated as MMF quantities. But ZPF method is based on the separation of XL and armature reaction effort. It is based on the separation of armature leakage reactance and armature reaction effort. So armature leakage reactance XL, it is also called as Parter reactance. To determine the armature leakage reactance, we can consider for the EMF method. We can determine the armature reactions. We can consider for the MMF method. The two tests performed on the stator, open circuit test and zero power factor test. From that open circuit test, here the circuit diagram is here. Here the load circuit, we can purely reactive loads are connected through the ammeter. From that open circuit test, we can determine the OCC characteristics curve. From that short circuit test, we can get the only one set of reading. Then another test, zero power factor test, we can determine the field current and the armature current. From that open circuit test, switch is kept to open, primer to drive the NS speed, potential divided from 0 to rated value. From zero power factor test, switch is closed, purely inductor load is connected across the alternator. It gives a purely inductive load. So this is the characteristic curve of zero power factor method. So the first one is open circuit characteristic curve, second one is zero power factor characteristic curve. So in this diagram we can get the RS voltage drop, armature leakage reactance separately, I into XL. Here the RS, we can determine the RS value. Separately, we can determine the armature leakage reactance step. Here the PS, which gives the field current necessary to overcome diminishing armature reaction. SQ, it gives the KF to produce the leakage reactance also. So finally, it is an American standard association method. American standards association method, simply ASA method. It is the modification of MMF method. This method is capable of variable values of voltage regularity. The mandate circuit is assumed to be saturated, unsaturated. It is not possible to have completely unsaturated magnetics. In silent pole alternators, it is not correct to combine field arm ampere turns and armature ampere turns. Field winding is always concentrated. Armature winding is always distributed. So similarly, the field and armature EMF is not fully justified. So from that phasor diagram, load induced EMF calculated S was done in the C0 power factor method, but corresponding to this EMF, the additional field current IF3 due to saturation obtained from OCC and the air gap line. IF3 is added to the resultant of IF1 and IF2. For this total field current, we can get the no load induced EMF. So it is the accurate method of before that the three methods. We can include the additional field drop. Here the American standard association method, field current IF1 to produce an rated voltage, IF2 to produce an given armature current and short circuit at an angle to the 90 plus or minus 5. Okay, in this class we have to discuss about the synchronous generator, construction details of synchronous generator, various types of rotor construction, then EMF equation of an alternator, then synchronous reactance, then slot angle, which factor, distribution factor, single layer winding, double layer winding, then voltage relation of alternator, the methods, different methods of voltage relation of alternator by direct loading method, EMF method, MMF method, zero power factor method, and finally we discussed about the American standard association method. So next class we have to discuss about the uh, another topics on the synchronous generator. So mostly in this class, mostly useful for the SC/ST students for the GATE coaching class purpose, and also it is used for the UG degree BE electrical and electronics engineering students for the fourth semester purpose also. Electrical machines 2 or AC machines subject. So thank you for the fashion listening.